Welcome to 5th grade science. Today we're going to start by reviewing, going back to what we talked about the Friday before spring break, and then we're going to move on to forces. We're going to tie all that in together. So today I've got the ball sitting here on my table to remind you about potential energy. Now potential energy is stored up energy. Now this ball is not moving right now, but it has the potential to move. So there are some things that affect potential energy. The mass of an object, so how large it is, how much it weighs. So if I put a bowling ball on this table, the bowling ball would have more potential energy than the tennis ball because it has more mass. Now, if I take this ball and I hold it up in the air, again, it has more potential energy because it's farther from the ground. So the mass of an object or how far it is from the ground affect its potential energy. Now, kinetic energy is when that potential energy is released. So once you apply a force to an object, then that releases that energy and the object begins to move. So we related that then to our laws of motion. So we've got our first law of motion, which was inertia. An object at rest stays at rest. So unless I apply a force to an object, it's going to stay right where it is. So that kind of relates to our potential energy. And then the second law of motion, movement of an object depends on the applied force, so how much force I apply to it, and the mass of the object. So that again ties in with potential energy and also kinetic energy. So the harder I push that ball, the more kinetic energy it will display. So I wanted to review that with you. Now we're going to start talking about balanced and unbalanced forces. So what in the world does that mean? So a balanced force is when something is not in motion. It doesn't go in motion because the forces equal each other out. So right now, this ball on this table, it has force acting upon it, even though it's not in motion. So it has gravity pulling it to the table, and then the table is holding it up so that it doesn't fall to the ground. So we've got two forces being applied here, but they balance each other out, and so it's not in motion. And so that's why we call it a balanced force. So then we have unbalanced forces. That's when something goes into motion and one force is greater than the other. So if I were to push this, I apply a force to it and I push it, the force that I apply to it is greater than the force that's holding it on the table. So it begins to move. And then eventually it would fall off of the table, and then the force of gravity would be greater and it would pull it to the ground. So we're going to be talking about balanced and unbalanced forces. So on my webpage, there's a link for you to click on, and it's for Generation Genius. And there's a really neat video, and they show you some experiments. And I want you to answer some questions about that video and the experiments that they're doing on the video. So you're going to see Dr. Jeff and Izzy and Zoe, and they're going to be working on some things and sharing some things about balanced and unbalanced forces. So I want you to answer these questions. I want them to be in complete sentence answers with a capital letter at the beginning and punctuation at the end. And this is going to be an assignment that you will hand in on my webpage. Okay, the due date will be on my webpage. So if you have any questions about that, please email me. Or if you find something that you really like or something that's very interesting to you, then you can email me and let me know. Keep watching and keep learning. And may the force be with you.